Bill Gates. Be nice to nerds. You may end up working for them. We all could. I choose a lazy person to do a hard job. Because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. If you can't make it good, at least make it look good. Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose. I really had a lot of dreams when I was a kid. And I think a great deal of that grew out of the fact that I had a chance to read a lot. If you give people tools, and they use their natural abilities and their curiosity, they will develop things in ways that will surprise you very much beyond what you might have expected. I agree with people like Richard Dawkins that mankind felt the need for creation myths. Before we really began to understand disease and the weather and things like that, we sought false explanations for them. Now science has filled in some of the realm. Not all. That religion used to fill. As we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. In terms of doing things, I take a fairly scientific approach to why things happen and how they happen. I don't know if there's a God or not. DNA is like a computer program, but far more advanced than any software ever created. Measuring programming progress by lines of code is like measuring aircraft building progress by weight. Computers are great because when you're working with them you get immediate results that let you know if your program works. It's feedback you don't get from many other things. Our success has really been based on partnerships from the very beginning. The vision is really about empowering workers, giving them all the information about what's going on so they can do a lot more than they've done in the past. It's fine to celebrate success, but it is more important to heed the lessons of failure. Power comes not from knowledge kept, but from knowledge shared. Well, Steve Jobs. I think it's more like we both had this rich neighbor named Xerox, and I broke into his house to steal the TV set and found out that you had already stolen it. I believe that if you show people the problems and you show them the solutions, they will be moved to act. So it's an absolute lie that has killed thousands of kids. Because the mothers who heard that lie, many of them didn't have their kids take either pertussis or measles vaccine. And their children are dead today. And so the people who go and engage in those anti-vaccine efforts, they kill children. It's a very sad thing. Because these vaccines are important. Some people may call me a nerd. I claim the label with pride. Technology is just a tool. In terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is the most important. The cruel injustice is that even though the world's poor are doing essentially nothing to cause climate change, they're going to suffer the most from it. Like almost everyone who uses email, I receive a ton of spam every day. Much of it offers to help me get out of debt or get rich quick. It would be funny if it weren't so exciting. To sum up, we need to accomplish something gigantic we have never done before, much faster than we have ever done anything similar. Making things, cement, steel, plastic, 31% plugging in, electricity, 27% growing things, plants, animals, 19% getting around, planes, trucks, cargo ships, 16% keeping warm and cool, heating, cooling, refrigeration, 7%. The climate is like a bathtub that's slowly filling up with water. Even if we slow the flow of water to a trickle, the tub will eventually fill up and water will come spilling out onto the floor. That's the disaster we have to prevent. Setting a goal to only reduce our emissions, but not eliminate them, won't do it. Television is not real life. In real life, people actually have to leave the coffee shop and go to jobs. There's no magic line between an application and an operating system that some bureaucrat in Washington should draw. It's like saying that as of 1932, cars didn't have radios in them, so they should never have radios in them. The point is that when we focus on all three things at once, technology, policies, and markets, we can encourage innovation, spark new companies, and get new products into the market fast. I studied everything but never topped. But today the toppers of the best universities are my employees. But I hope you'll spend more time and energy supporting whatever you're in favor of than opposing whatever you're against. Well, I went for a ride but I didn't find my car. If you born poor, it is not your mistake. But if you die poor, it is your mistake. whatever other resources you may have. You can always use your voice and your vote to effect change. There are two numbers you need to know about climate change. The first is 51 billion. The other is 0. 51 billion is how many tons of greenhouse gases the world typically adds to the atmosphere every year. Remember that we need to find solutions for all 5 activities that emissions come from: making things, plugging in, growing things, getting around, and keeping cool and warm. This is great. In other words, by mid-century, climate change could be just as deadly as COVID-19. And by 2100 it could be 5 times as deadly. There's one last way we can cut down on emissions from the food we eat: by wasting less of it. In Europe, industrialized parts of Asia, and sub-Saharan Africa, more than 20% of food is simply thrown away, allowed to rot, or otherwise wasted. In the United States, it's 40%. That's bad for people who don't have enough to eat, bad for the economy, and bad for the climate. When wasted food rots, it produces enough methane to cause as much warming as 3.3 billion tons of carbon dioxide each year. It may sound old-fashioned, but letters and phone calls to your elected officials can have a real impact. I failed in some subject, but my friend passed in all. Today he is an engineer in Microsoft and I am his owner of Microsoft. Business is a money game with few rules and a lot of risk. If you want to understand the kind of damage that climate change will inflict, look at COVID-19 and then imagine spreading the pain out over a much longer period of time. In my view, investing in public libraries is an investment in the nation's future. The world uses more than 4 billion gallons every day. When you're using any product at that kind of volume, you can't simply stop overnight. There are intersections of integrity and temptation in every career and every life. The challenge is to do the right thing no matter what. Times with follow-up questions. Eventually it sank in. The world needs to provide more energy so the poorest can thrive. But we need to provide that energy without releasing any more greenhouse gases. Now the problem seemed even harder. It wasn't enough to deliver cheap, reliable energy for the poor. It also had to be clean. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day, and overestimate what they can accomplish in a year. And this is a really important point. Lowering the green premiums that the world pays is not charity. Countries like the United States shouldn't see investing in clean energy R&D as just a favor to the rest of the world. They should also see it as an opportunity to make scientific breakthroughs that will give birth to new industries composed of major new companies, creating jobs and reducing emissions at the same time. Unless we move fast toward zero, bad things, and probably many of them, will happen well within most people's lifetime. And very bad things will happen within a generation. In this business, by the time you realize you are in trouble, it's too late to save yourself. Unless you're running scared all the time, you're gone. Bill Gates said he connected with Eddie Izzard even though it would appear they have nothing in common. But that might be the point the author is trying to communicate. I've recently discovered that I have a lot in common with a funny, dyslexic, transgender actor, comedian, escape artist, unicyclist, ultramarathoner, and pilot from Great Britain. Except all of the above. Gates wrote, "We're all cut from the same cloth." In his words, we are all totally different, but we are all exactly the same. Gates, Grove, and Jobs were all masters in the use of both leverage and power. During the last ice age, the average temperature was just 6 degrees Celsius lower than it is today. During the age of the dinosaurs, when the average temperature was perhaps 4 degrees Celsius higher than today, there were crocodiles living above the Arctic Circle. The problem of overgeneration in the summer and undergeneration in the winter. My full-time job is working with my wife, Melinda. But giving people more information can help them make better choices. Earlier, I mentioned a related technology called direct air capture. It involves exactly what the name implies: capturing carbon directly from the air. DAC is more flexible than point capture, because you can do it anywhere. And in all likelihood, it'll be a crucial part of getting to zero. One study by the National Academy of Sciences found that we'll need to be removing about 10 billion tons of carbon dioxide a year by mid-century and about 20 billion by the end of the century. Bill Gates famously said that he often hired senior executives so that he could learn from them.